Clara, the mostly true story of the rhinoceros who dazzled kings, inspired artists, and won the hearts of everyone while she ate her way up and down a continent. Nearly 300 years ago, when half the world was still a mystery to the other half, a Dutch sea captain arrived in India and called on an old friend. As they were trading stories, a remarkable creature padded into the room. "What on earth is that?" cried Captain Vandermeer. "A rhinoceros," said his host. "My, she is strange," the captain exclaimed. "She's an orphan," said his friend. "We call her Clara." Gazing at the creature, the captain had an idea. In Europe, people believe that rhinos are mythical beasts. Surely they will pay to see a real one. I could give up my lonely life at sea. And so the captain offered to buy Clara. "But how will you care for her?" his friend asked. "She eats a great deal." Vandermeer admitted he didn't know. "But I will sort it out," he promised. Clara was hoisted slowly onto Vandermeer's ship. It must have been frightening, but she trusted the captain. "Good girl," he said, and secured her so that when the vessel pitched, she would not be hurled into the water. The crew was delighted to have a new passenger. There were already a few animals on board to provide everyone with milk, eggs, and companionship. Clara gave everyone she liked a lick. Her tongue was as soft as velvet. She ate stacks of hay and drank gallons of water. She adored oranges and beer. But after only 2 days, Clara seemed unhappy. The captain realized she was drying out in the sun. He gazed at the heaving sea. Fish! He could apply a daily slathering of fish oil to Clara's hide to keep her moist. As the ship rounded the Cape of Good Hope, Vandermeer fleshed out his plan. He would travel from town to town with Clara, selling tickets to all who wanted to see her. Of course, he would need to buy a great deal of hay. He had taken on a very large responsibility, but he was finding his rhino to be a pleasant companion. Before Clara's hoofs touched dry land in Holland, word had spread that a mythical beast was in the harbor. An excited crowd gathered to meet the ship. Vandermeer hurried Clara off to his home in Leiden. Now the captain had to figure out how to transport his Clara on a grand tour. He drew a design for a wagon and hired some shipbuilders to build it. It would take a team of 8 horses to pull her. Meanwhile, Clara went on eating. She was gaining 20 pounds a day and was always agreeable. When things didn't go well, as when work on the wagon went too slowly, Vandermeer looked deep into his rhino's eyes and felt calm. Clara might have been homely on the outside, but she had a beautiful soul. The captain had posters and flyers printed. "There has arrived in Europe an animal called Rhinoceros. She has skin like seashells, ears like an ass, can swim like a duck, and is as tame as a dove. She eats 100 pounds of hay and 30 loaves of bread a day, and drinks 14 buckets of water and beer." At last, the unlikely duo were ready to start their adventure. To Vandermeer's delight, a little horn had sprouted on Clara's forehead. The captain sent word of his real mythical beast to Frederick the Great, the King of Prussia. When they rolled into Berlin, the king met them at the fish market, where Clara could be treated with oil of sardine. "Unglaublich! Incredible!" the king exclaimed. "What a monstrous creature, and yet how noble!" Vandermeer was very pleased. Frederick had recognized Clara's essence. Frederick gave the captain a bag of gold coins to buy enough hay, beer, and oranges for the next leg of their journey. Off they went to Vienna, where Empress Maria Theresa pronounced Clara "Ehrlich," magnificent. Then back in Germany, in Regensburg, Freiburg, and Dresden, Clara was drawn, painted, and modeled in porcelain. "Schrecklich! Frightful!" people exclaimed. And yet, what a beautiful spirit! Clara's horn itched as it grew, so the captain gave her a ball to rub against. She ate and drank and drank. Every week she was weighed and measured. 5,000 pounds, 11.5 feet around, 6 feet high, the mayor of Leipzig announced. Vandermeer had a bigger wagon built. When Clara had been on the road for a year, Frederick II of Hesse invited her to his orangery. She must be happy, the captain remarked, and when Clara is happy, so am I. Onward. Near Mannheim they ran into a problem. The steep, narrow, rocky roads would not support a rhinoceros-carrying wagon. The glittering Rhine River beckoned. Could Clara be persuaded to board a raft? And if it capsized, could a rhinoceros really swim? While Clara munched grass, loggers felled trees and lashed them together. The captain called, "Come, my Clarican," but she ignored him. Out came a basket of oranges, and onto the raft went Clara. What a sight they were! Years later, people would say that seeing Clara had changed them forever. The captain knew just what they meant. But as Clara's celebrity grew, so did she. It became impossible to pay for all her food. Sometimes the captain went hungry so Clara could eat. They crisscrossed Germany, went home to Leiden, then left again, finally heading to France. Surely, the richest king in Europe, Louis XV, owner of 2 lions, 2 tigers, a pelican, a camel, and a seal, would pay handsomely to meet the strangest animal on earth. When Clara arrived at the palace of Versailles, the king looked her over from top to bottom. Clara munched the royal lawn. At last, he said, "She is a marvel. I want her for my menagerie." The captain was speechless. Sell his beloved Clara? Unthinkable. Still, if he let her go, Clara could retire in comfort at Versailles. "You may have her for 100,000 gold pieces," he said at last. Louis, who had expected the rhinoceros as a gift, dismissed him in a huff. Vandermeer crumpled with relief. "Oh, Clarican, I nearly lost you," he cried. But she still had to be fed. Where would the money come from? Luckily, Paris went absolutely wild for Clara. At the Saint-Germain fair, peasants, merchants, tradesmen, aristocrats, and royalty lined up to gaze into her soul. Vandermeer charged extra for private viewings and for stroking Clara's soft lip. Poets wrote verses and painters made portraits. Scientists came to examine her, and her picture appeared in Diderot's famous encyclopedia. Musicians composed songs in her honor. Hairdressers created the style à la rhinoceros, and chic women everywhere copied it. Gowns à la rhinoceros were worn to balls. In salons, people spoke of nothing else. The French Navy even christened a new ship La Rhinoceros. It was Rhinomania. Rome would not be outdone by Paris. Clara rolled on to Italy and triumphed again. Then, one morning, Clara looked different. Her horn had fallen off. Could she be sick? The captain was about to cancel Clara's appearances, but when he looked into her eyes, he was reassured. It was clear that she loved this life. "Sweet Clarican," he told her, "we will carry on." So Clara went to Venice. Venetians too saw her nobility, horn or no horn. And one day, a little knob appeared on Clara's forehead. She was growing a new horn. Soon it was bigger than the first. For 17 years, Clara charmed audiences all over Europe. When the end came, the pair were in London. Clara's trusting eyes had grown cloudy. Vandermeer put his face close to hers, and she gave him a lick. He knew she was dying. The captain had kept his promise to take care of her, no matter what, and she had taken care of him too. They had lived a whole lifetime together. "Dear Clarican," he murmured, "you've been the greatest trooper and my truest friend." For a moment, Clara seemed to be remembering it all, and then she shut her eyes. The end.